All right, good morning. This is Matthew Mickey on November the 12th, and this is me conducting my wargame analysis. Starting on the daily chart, we're above NFP Friday and previous month 50%. We expect higher prices. From the 3-day structure, we expect the highest probability to close to stay above previous day open and the low, and to close between the midpoint of previous day and the high, right? That's the highest probability. There's a lower probability using candle signs of closing above it, but we shall see. Coming over here, we see that we had a long true and for the Tokyo markets, and the Frankfurt and London markets went long false, so they kind of got selling. We're above previous day mid right now, right? We're above P12 analysis, right? So with that being said, looking at our P12, we know that majority of the time the MAE is put in bias 6 to 9, right? But there is the median, the modes at 6 o'clock, the medians between 9:30 and 10:30, right? So we're not quite sure. Like this could definitely be the MAE to MFE here, right? And then that would support a long true or even a long false that bounces off the P12 mid and then continues going higher, or the previous day high, or the London OU, right? But right now, this is setting up for a possible long true scenario, right? So we definitely be paying attention. Can we, number one, break out long at the 7:30 to 8:30 box? Number two, can we step above P12 high and find footing on it to continue? Those are all things that we'll be considering today. But let's run to the stats real quick and start wargaming it to see what is statistically feasible. Right, so just putting in long true all, long false broken, right? We see that Asia OU has an 82% probability of being broken, right? We see that it does have all the way until like 10:15, right? It has about 30% of the time of getting hit, right? But we know that from a time aspect, right? Like the closer we get to 10:15, the less likely we are to hit it, because you're increasing in percentile, meaning that like even at right here, right? If this is the 50% mark, you're about in the 80th percentile, meaning 80% of the time, this 82% has already been hit by that time. So you're going into the probability of you actually hitting this Asia OU is falling off probabilities wise, the more that we go without heading in that direction, right? We know that looking at our P12 sequencing, the P12 mid had a 96% probability happening at 6 to 6:45, and we hit that right here, right? So now we're trying to figure out, is it going to break out to the long side and hit the P12 high, or is it going to support that Asia OU grab along with making a new low of the day? Well, that's cool, because now we can start wargaming. Right? If we look at just the long side of the house, actually, if we look at all of them, we're going to see our current low of the day is at 1810.15% basis points off of Globex Open. Right? So now we're going to see, out of the 4 possible variables that can happen around the 7:30 to 8:30, how many of them support that low of the day? We can see a long true definitely supports that low of the day from a time and price standpoint. You can see a long false supports that low of the day from a time and a price standpoint. You can see a short true is the only one that does not support that low of the day. And then you can see that a short false, right, we got to pay attention to the mode, and let's make this bigger. Right, we can see that that low of the day is a secondary mode right there, but the primary mode is between 9:30 and 9:45. So that's where we have to pay attention to that Asia OU and how we travel to it. But first, we have to figure out, are we going to break out short or long first? Right? If we break out long, then those two scenarios, short true and short false, that don't support this low of the day, go out the window, and then any long scenario does support it, right? All right, so let's start with the long false. Right, we can see that if we go long, right, the long false happens 61% of the time versus the long true that happens 38% of the time. So now we're going to put the high of the day, low of the day data in for the long false. Right, so let's come over here, select long false. We know low of the day is from 0.1 to 0.2, 1800 to 1900. Right, and then for the high of the day, right, we can see it's either going to happen at 8:30 to 8:45, which that can't be true because we've already made the high of the day. So now we're looking at somewhere between either the afternoon, but primarily you can see that at 1500 you have 2, 7, 14, 24% just in that last hour of all the high of the day data. So that's going to lead us to put in the high of the day data around the end of the day, right? And then mode to median is between 0.6 and 1%. We're going to come over here and put 0.6 to 1. I'm going to put 1500 to 1600. Right, and we're going to see, right, if we stick with this high of the day, a 10-day median range, meaning that this would be a smaller doji like daily candle, right? So we know that our 10-day median range over the last 10 days, 50% of the time, our daily range has at least made it to 518. Right now we are starting to see clues that London and Asia both overspent, so we can expect New York 1 to overspend. And so we'll more than likely, if we go with the long fall scenario, we'll have to expect anomaly high of the day zones, right? If that's the case. So New York 1 over the last quarter from 7:30 to 11:30, the last quarter has put in enough distro for us to actually make it to the high of the day zone, right? But we're not expecting that. We're expecting something like this for New York 1 in this scenario, for the long fall scenario, right? And then it bounces off of Asia U, or it makes a new low of the day and then reverses, et cetera, et cetera. That's for a short fall. Sorry, we're doing long falls. Okay, cool. All right. We're expecting to bounce off P12 mid or Asia OU for this scenario, right? All right, so moving on to the next scenario, we'll turn this off. We'll go to the long true, which is the one that's you got to pay attention to, right? Long true supports that low of the day as well, and then we can see right here, right? It definitely supports a possibility of making the high of the day between 11 to 1445, but then again we see 4%, 12%, 16 plus 12, so 30% of the high of the days have been put in that power hour. So that's the dominant high of the day. So that's one we're going to go with. We can see mode to median is for the high of the day is between 0.6 and 1. So we'll put that in there. $15 to 1600. We know that this was 0.1 low of the day, 0.2. All right, and we can see, like, even if we turn on the long true and the long false, they've got very similar low day, high day projections, right? From a time and a price standpoint, right? So that's two of the same directions literally sinking in. So that's giving you a clue for the long side of the house, right? So if we break out to the upside first, that would put us in the long projection, and then we expect something like this. We go long false, we can go to P12 mid, and then somewhere in the morning session we reverse, they head back up here, creating that smaller range daily candle than what we have been experiencing. Or we can come to the Asia OU and then bounce in the afternoon, late morning to make a new higher day, right? But what we don't expect is this P12 low to get hit, right? All right, so that is that. So let's build trade plans around that, right? If we break long first, which it looks like we might, right? We're gonna wanna see how price responds around this London OU, this previous day high, this P12 mid, and if we just swipe through them, we'd go to the next one. We swipe through them, go to the next one, then we go to Asia OU, and then you're just paying attention to where does price want to net, right? Going like this to this, does it want to bounce from here? Does it want to bounce from here? Or does it want to bounce from here? Or does it want to be an extreme day and take out the low, take out the previous day mid, etc., right? So I'll take the 930 to 944 trade as usual. I'll take cash flow longs. And then if we get shorts, I'll take extended cash flow to P12 mid or Asia OU, right? After that, like if we do the long fall scenario like this, I'll take 05 breakout shorts to the downside. But the closer we get to this P12 low, like based off of where we are within the 3 hours, right, will determine like how much position size I put on and how much extension do I give to the upside. All right, so that's my war game today. I'm not going to do the short true or the short false because we're about to break out, and that would be a waste of time and adds too much confusion. All right, have a good day. Later, haters.